Hi there, it's Chris, back with another episode of Talking Tsundoku Blues. I'm continuing my Superman series with The Man of Steel, Volume 3. As you can see on the cover, Superman is getting attacked by murderous action figure toys. What's that all about? And underneath the dust jacket, Superman versus Geometry. No, not really, but this is actually from a dimension hopping story where he teams up with Green Lantern. There are so many wacky stories in here. If you've ever wanted to see Batman and Superman team up to fight swamp vampires, well, that's the very first story. If you've ever wanted to know the updated origin of Titano, the giant ape that terrorizes Metropolis, I've got a story for you. If you want to see Supes fight two Booster Golds at the same time, that's in here. If you want to see Clark Kent fall in love with a mermaid, also in here. If you want to see Superman's ghost fight the Silver Banshee in a bookstore, well, have I got a recommendation for you. So I'm going to just jump into some of these random stories. I'll try to keep it brief, minor spoilers maybe, but you know, for the most part, this is just an overview. Let's take a look. Alright, there's the cover with the action figures, and on the back, Superman using his heat vision to blow up an asteroid. Inside, there's some images of Superman drawn by John Byrne, and of course the mysterious geometric shapes that he has to fly through with Green Lantern in that story. Let's take a look at the contributors. Writers John Byrne, Jerry Ordway, Ron Frenz, Dan Jurgens, Jim Starlin. Pencilers, John Byrne, Jerry Ordway. Arthur Adams, Ron Frenz, Dan Jurgens, and Kurt Swan. Here's the table of contents. And this begins with the Action Comics Annual. Next is the Superman Annual, and then the Adventures of Superman Annual. So it's got all three series running simultaneously. Action Comics, Superman, and the Adventures of Superman. And the first issue, Cry Vampire. Batman and Superman teaming up to fight swamp vampires. I love this, looks like the mob that chases Frankenstein. They've got their torches. They're chasing this girl. She's called Skeeter, and she goes deeper and deeper into the swamp. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne shows up wearing an awesome mustache disguise. This is a very Twin Peaks inspired moment where he just wants some of that great smelling coffee. And then soon enough, he changes into his Batman costume and goes detectiving around, looking for the cause of these murders. He falls into quicksand at one point. Is this the end of Batman? Well, you have to read it and find out. Enter Superman, coming in to save the day, and hopefully all is well in the end. The next issue is Titano, the updated origin of Titano, the giant ape. This one is kind of intense. It begins in a laboratory, and it deals with animal testing. Lois Lane, here you can see Amanda the Waller. She is always kind of one of those background characters that's kind of spooky, and my favorite version of that character is in Infinite Crisis, where she's part of Checkmate. Anyway, Lois Lane is investigating the lab that's doing animal testing, and she finds this chimp nicknamed Titano as a joke because he's kind of small. And Superman there just having a good day. Clean skies, summer weather, and the worst crime within range of my telescopic vision is a little old lady jaywalking over on Bleecker. Yep, this is the life. And soon enough, there's tanks suddenly downtown blowing things up, and Superman has to stop them. Then there's a giant ape attacking Superman, and everything goes to hell. Destroying the city piece by piece. Superman doesn't want to hurt the monkey at first, but then ends up picking up a huge part of the street and just throwing it at him. The ape grows bigger and bigger, and finally Lois Lane has had enough, and she tells the doctor to shut up and punches him on behalf of Superman. Alright, the next story takes place in Trudeau, South Dakota. I love this opening shot where there's like these tentacles crawling out of the sewer. It's so 80s, I don't know, it reminds me of almost like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. This story was written by Jim Starlin, of course creator of Thanos, drawn by Dan Jurgens and Steve Montano. elderly President Reagan there, needing Superman's help. And then the next page is like the laziest art I've ever seen, practically. It's just a bunch of panels of the White House with like dialogue boxes, and then finally Superman flies out at the bottom. Man, how lazy are you? Something suspicious is going on, so Superman goes to investigate. The whole town's empty. He goes down into the sewers. This is kind of freaky. There's like metal filings and whatever's left after like a cremation. So he finds these like pens and keys and like metal teeth filings, as if these, you know, the bodies of the people have been cremated. That was kind of awesome. Like, Superman doesn't really go into horror territory much, but like with the swamp vampires and now this issue, I feel like it's kind of fun to see a Superman story that's horror adjacent. And then what's this? All the sewer pipes come loose and tangle up Superman. He thinks he can get out of there pretty easily, but he decides not to. He kind of gives up and lets the floating pipes drag him down into the deeper underground lair of this guy, the Word Bringer. What's the word? The word is union. What does that mean? So, long story short, Superman discovers that the entire population of the town, their bodies have been destroyed and they are all reduced to brains in jars. And the Word Bringer is trying to make them all part of the Union, which is like this, you know, super consciousness where everyone's connected, and they become telepathic somehow, so they can talk to Superman. This is kind of a minor spoiler, but they basically ask Superman to kill them because they don't want to be brains in jars anymore. And you'll have to read the story to find out what Superman decides to do there. Leave it to Jim Starlin to give us some, you know, when he's not having Thanos commit genocide across the universe, he's sticking Superman with an ethical dilemma of whether or whether not to kill a bunch of brains in jars that used to be citizens of South Dakota. No, but I actually really like this issue in the sense that it has a completely different tone than a lot of the other Superman stories. John Byrne is often winking at the audience, and he's kind of, he feels a little golden agey. He's very wacky, very silly, and sometimes weirdly sexualized. But Jim Starlin brings a totally different tone, and I really appreciated that. I think when these kinds of stories come in by different writers, it really changes things up and adds a different dynamic that we don't normally see from Byrne and Ordway and others. All right, the next story, All That Glisters. This is the Booster Gold story. I love this, like, this computer font from the 80s. Like, I'm sure it looked cool at the time, but it looks like super retro now. But it reminds me of like my old Apple IIe. One of my favorite opening sequences here with Batman and Robin coming to meet Superman. Robin meeting Superman for the first time, and all he can say is, wow. And then finally, Batman asks Robin, Robin, is there something you wanted to add besides wow? And he says, wow, I mean, Superman, do you think I could have your autograph? Superman thinks about it, and then he picks up a piece of tin, like tin roofing, and he cuts off a little piece of it, and with his super hard fingernail, he signs it. Robin just loves it. And that's just pure, cheesy, classic superhero schlock right there. Love it, love it. I love this too at the end. Lex Luthor is having a party on his yacht, and Bruce Wayne is there. Great bash as always, Luthor. Not as good as those wonderful affairs you put on in that splendid manner of yours, Wayne. Brucey, can't we please stay longer? So it's kind of cool to know that like the billionaires hang out together, and Bruce Wayne's probably trying to get some intel on Lex. And then enter Silver Banshee. The Silver Banshee has won. Superman is dead, but not defeated, says Superman's ghost. This one is just so silly. Silver Banshee going around. I actually like the Silver Banshee. I know some people don't like her as a character, but I think she's fun. She uses her voice to suck the life energy out of people and age them to the point of death. She's going around Metropolis, digging through bookstores, looking for this ancient book that was lost. And I don't know, I guess it looks cheesy for like modern eyes, but back in the day, like I was kind of fascinated and creeped out at the same time by Silver Banshee because she just looks so cool. She's got like teeth painted over her lips, and the costume is actually pretty awesome. So Superman goes down, and then the Justice League get word that Superman may have died. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor goes into a rage because he wants to be the one who killed Superman. Superman was meant to die by my hand. My hand. It's not fair. Oh, Lexi. I don't know why Superman's ghost couldn't have appeared, when Doomsday killed him, but that's a story for another time. And then here they are, Superman's ghost and Silver Banshee fighting in a bookstore, which is just, I don't know, it's good cheesy fun. And then she screams and vanishes without a trace, but that probably was not the last time we will see the Silver Banshee. I think it's kind of fun that John Byrne brought back a lot of those old weird supervillains and the kind of the lesser known characters. I mean, he also deals with the well-known like Titano and Metallo and some of those guys, but I like the fact that he brings the Silver Banshee in. All right, in this story, some suspicious things are happening around Metropolis involving toys. You got the little parachuting army men stealing the money. By the way, what's the deal with Superman's cape on this page? It's like, I'm not really sure what happened to him there. And then here's the angry Toymaker. He opens up his little box of action figures and sends them on the loose. They start attacking Superman. I like the fact that one of them looks like Iron Man. So he ends up flying around and detonating them at a safe distance with his heat vision. But then the explosions make him dizzy. I don't know. And then the next issue, this is actually a really cool one. Hell is Where the Heart Is, with the Spectre. And the long-suffering citizens of Smallville fall prey to these manhunters, which are like ancient beings who used to inhabit the universe and used to watch over the universe. And some of them have gone rogue, and they've taken the people of Smallville and sort of, I wouldn't say killed them, but they basically like put them into sort of a coma state. And then the people of Smallville are stuck in limbo. And so Superman teams up with the Spectre to try to bring them back to the living realm. This is kind of cool. So he gets his comeuppance. You robbed the young men and women of Smallville of their human freedom, Manhunter. You entered their minds and warped them. Treated them as nothing more than biological raw material, junk. And so he also gets changed into junk. So the kids are sneaking around Lana Lang's house on Halloween. I don't think we should ought to be doing this, Mikey. Should ought to be? Well, that's fine. Don't be such a crybaby, Dwayne. They're gonna put soap all over the windows, I guess. And old Miss Lang will never know who. And then somebody's lurking behind the house. They scream, they run away, and I love this little grin, like the Spectre kind of grins. It's so cool. You never really see that guy smile. He likes to strike fear in the hearts of children, I guess. And then I also really like this. The Spectre just kind of comes in through the window or through the wall, and he just hangs out with Lana and Clark's parents. And Pa Kent is like talking to the Spectre, just like no big deal. I guess when you're the parents of Superman, like you've seen some pretty weird stuff, so maybe it's not so strange to hang out with the Spectre. There's also a story in here that kind of wraps up the Jose Delgado story. If you remember from the previous volumes, he was a teacher, or he is a teacher and a guidance counselor, and he ends up dressing up as a superhero that is Gangbuster. This is not Gangbuster, actually. This is the Combattor. So Combattor comes and causes trouble while Delgado and Lois Lane are on a date. So this whole issue is basically like an article that Lois Lane wrote for the Daily Planet about a local hero. As Gangbuster, he tries to take down Combattor, tries to help the people in the movie theater, tries to help Lois Lane, tries to use his nunchakas? Nunchuks? Anyway. He's using his nunchakas to strangle Combattor, but Combattor throws him through a window and just beats the living crap out of him until Superman can come and sort of finish the fight. And poor Jose is like barely alive, just completely beaten to a pulp. Yeah, but that won't be the end of Jose Delgado. His story still continues for a little while, but I like the fact that he's set up as this character who is supposed to be this like new superhero, and he's like kind of a street tough guy, almost kind of like a daredevil. Like he's like in this neighborhood, like trying to help the kids and trying to stop the kids from joining gangs. But then inevitably he meets like a supervillain, and he just can't hold his own. You think maybe he'll prevail in the end, but he just gets his ass kicked, and it's kind of an interesting twist on where you think the story's going to go. The last story in here, the Earth Stealers. Love this cover, by the way. How awesome is that? It's really, really cool. It's so retro. I'm sure it looked new at the time, but it looks like awesome in a retro way now. This story is really cool, actually. It kind of reminded me of the Adam Strange Planet Heist by Andy Diggle. These scientists are looking into deep space and they see this rip in space, and there's a cloaked ship that's pushing this giant kind of a scoop, I guess, that's going to scoop up the Earth and the Moon and steal it, hijack the solar system. So Superman has to infiltrate the vessel, but he can't manage to stop it in time, so the Earth and the Moon get hijacked by this guy. He's kind of the captain of the ship. This ridiculous looking little alien guy, kind of Star Wars-y guy. His crew's afraid of him because he's like really violent and angry, and he doesn't stop eating green stuff, and like he never wipes his face. And Superman tries to introduce himself to these robots, but they just take him and like carry him to the captain. Greetings, I'm Superman from the planet Earth. And you kind of find out, again, minor spoilers, you find out that these planets are being destroyed within this gigantic machine. They're smashed into space dust, and then all of the elements are used by this alien race. And so the captain and his crew are just working for these aliens, the clients, kind of like the Death Star. It's like the opposite of the Death Star. Instead of shooting the ray and blowing up the planet, they just like feed it planets. I kind of wanted to know more about that. I feel like that was like a pretty cool device, actually. All right, and that's the last story. I think I've said this before, but I feel like this volume really captures the kind of wackiness and the strangeness of Superman's early kind of Golden Age and Silver Age adventures. I've said in previous videos that I don't read before Crisis on Infinite Earths. I start in 1985 is where I begin reading DC Comics. And so for me, these are kind of the Golden Age stories, like my childhood Golden Age, what I consider the Golden Age of my comic reading. So if you like wacky, old-timey stories that are not so ridiculous like the Golden Age, and not the art is not like from way, way back in the day, but it's goofy enough and it's wacky enough to entertain you, and if you can suspend your disbelief to just have a good old time with pure heroic Superman, as opposed to all the weird later kind of reinterpretations and reinterpretations of Superman. It's a whole lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to keep making more Superman videos till the movie comes out. So after that, I'll go back to making more like underground comics and weirder things, literature again. But for now, it's just nothing but Superman content on this channel. So I hope you'll keep watching. Thank you so much. I'll see you again.